So welcome everyone to the Victorian Interschools Snow Sports Coordinators meeting. We're going to get underway very shortly. Just cue on our slides here. Just some webinar guidelines to everyone today. Not entirely sure if we've got it all set exactly as we want, but if there's an option to unmute your microphones, we just ask that you leave them muted at all times. And we will be sort of monitoring the chat function during the webinar, but ideally we'll sort of come to the questions that appear in the chat function at the end of the session. We'll leave plenty of time towards the end to get through that. We just sort of ask too that it's not necessarily for comments or opinion in the chat function, but more so for questions. And as we mentioned, we'll give it a fair amount of time towards the end to address that. I'll now hand over to the chair of the Victorian Interschool Snow Sports Committee, Mr. John Dyson, to continue on.
So look, good afternoon, everyone, and let me join with Steve Nelson in welcoming you all to the Snow Sports Coordinators meeting for 2021. As Steve mentioned, my name is John Dyson, and I have the great honour of being the chairman of the Victorian Interschools Committee, VISC as we like to call it. We have 51 attendees signed up for this presentation today. And we have a pretty full agenda this afternoon. I'll make some opening comments before passing across to Dave Spees, our event manager, who will provide an update on Interschools and also a Mount Buller Resort update before passing back to Steve Nelson, the National Participation and Sport Development Manager for Snow Australia, who will provide an update on Northern Interschools, and there will be a chance for questions at the end of the presentations. After the disappointment of 2020, it is great to be talking about Interschools 2021 and all things snow. We've had snow on the ground at Mount Buller already, and most likely it's snowing as we speak. There's pent-up demand and growing enthusiasm for what we are confident will be another successful Interschools competition in 2021. Our Snow Sports Coordinators community, you are one of our most important and key stakeholder groups. And we thank you for giving up your time tonight and my continued interest and support of Interschools. You are our conduit to our schools, student athletes, and our parents. And your continued involvement and promotion of Interschools are crucial to its ongoing success, especially this year following the disappointment of 2020 and as we emerge from the fog of COVID-19. It goes without saying that our number one priority remains the health and safety of our student athletes, teachers, parents, and officials. Albeit we remain confident in being able to deliver Interschools in 2021, we're still subject to Victorian Government directions and policies. We expect and hope that the Victorian Government will provide guidelines for all the Victorian resorts in May 2021, well ahead of the upcoming season. As we did in 2020, we'll provide all of our stakeholders with as much certainty as soon as we can regarding Interschools 2021 and keep our community informed as much as possible. Hopefully tonight we'll provide you with some certainty regarding refund policies for bookings, as well as some comfort regarding capacity issues. We encourage you all to monitor our website, subscribe for our e-news, and if necessary, we'll provide update bulletins on key announcements and developments. A brief explanation and update on Victorian Interschools Committee. The committee sits within the National Committee framework under the custodianship of Snow Australia. Our role, is to work closely with all of our stakeholders in delivering the Interschools. The current committee includes representatives from the resorts, Mount Buller, the sport, and of course, our schools. At the initiative of Snow Australia, the role in terms of reference of all of its committees are currently being reviewed. As part of this review, we would expect that during snow season 2021, Snow Australia will be calling for expressions of interest for committee members for the Victorian Interschools Committee to ensure that we have representative cross-sections of our stakeholders, especially across all of our schools that we source our student athletes from. . Over the last 6 months, the National Interschools Rules Working Group have reviewed the National Interschools rules and have made a number of recommended changes which have been accepted by the board of Snow Australia. Dave Spees will provide a more detailed update on these rule changes later in the presentation. During this period, we also received a proposal regarding team selection. The proposal suggested that team selection should be based on the actual race performance on the day, with the A team consisting of the 4 fastest skiers representing the individual school on the day, the B team on the next 4 fastest skiers, and so on. This proposal was considered by the National Interschools Rules Working Group, the National Participation Committee, and finally, the Board of Snow Australia. Snow Australia concluded that the current team structure has been a fabric of interschools for the last 60 years, and furthermore, that the team selection policy was a matter for the individual schools to determine, and that the team selection policy of each individual school should reflect the school's culture and philosophy. And therefore, Snow Australia decided not to make any change to the current rule regarding team selection. The board appreciates the challenges of team selection and will offer help and assistance to any school that requests it regarding the development of a selection policy that best suits that individual school. BISC is always open to any suggestions around how we can deliver interschools in a better way, and we really appreciate the chance to receive the proposal and to consider it. I will now pass across to Dave Spees, our event manager, who will provide an update on Interschools 2021 and a Mount Buller resort update as well. Dave.
Thanks, John. Thanks for all of you special school coordinators for joining us this afternoon. Look, I think there's a lot of excited people out there about what winter 2021 is promising, and we're all really looking forward to getting back together again in as close to normal circumstances as usual. We'll move on to the slides here. 2019 pre-COVID, we were at 6,852 entries, over 3,100 individual participants in 228 schools. And yeah, we had obviously a great year hosting the Victorian and Australian Interschools in 2019, and we are looking forward to something that looks very much like it. Moving on to event entry closure and start lists. As school coordinators, we really highly recommend that you request of your entire interschool community to be subscribers to the e-news, which can be done on the vicinterschools.com.au website. All special and important event announcements and latest news, etc., will be distributed via the e-news, and in particular during event week, the source and the main vehicle to be distributing that information and time critical information will be via e-news as well. So please have everyone check those. We'll be setting, as we have done in the last 6 or 7 years, start lists will be live around a week out from the event entry closure dates for the cross-country event, being the 26th of July and Monday the 9th of August. That way, all families can and interested parties can log on to the website and actually see that their child is in the events that they believe that they will put in, and can provide assistance to their school coordinators if, for example, their daughter or son have been left off an event they were expecting to be enrolled in. So please get the communities on board with e-news subscription and get them to really have a look at those start lists prior to those event entries closing. Brand new website for those of you that haven't been to it. A great amount of work over the last 6 to 8 months has been conducted by the sport to yet further align all of the platforms from Snow Australia down to Snow Australia Interschools, where all of our northern friends in New South Wales, ACT, Queensland, South Australia, ourselves, and the Australian event details are all listed in the one place. Clicking on the Victoria tab will bring up, as you can see on the screen, policies and important documents. That is really the most important area of our website for anything that you may need to find out, whether it be pricing, whether it be risk management documents, to anything that may be of importance, that is where you'll find it. And the other tabs there will be more specific info around the Victorian Interschool Champs at the end of August, and the cross country, as well as merchandise, multi-class event, etc. Things that you'll see on those important document pages are lift entry and lift access pricing summaries that you can distribute amongst your communities. Event schedule summary of the days that events are scheduled to be run on. 2021 important dates, and they'll list exactly when those event entry closure dates are, closure dates for the national interschools, and other obvious important dates, and all of the others there that I don't really need to go through. The Vic Rules of Racing, currently published there, of the 2019 version. We'll be going through some of the key changes to the event rules, as John had mentioned earlier, a little later. But in the coming, once we do get through the next Victorian Interschool Committee meeting, we'll have the 2021 version of the Victorian rules. And when they are published, they'll be published via e-news. And we really encourage you to really familiarise yourself with all the changes that are marked clearly in blue in that document. That's what the important document page looks like, and just lists month by month what those event entry closure dates are, etc. The event entry summary schedule, the summary schedule is listed as well on the important documents page, and that will give you the events that will run on each of those given days. And this is exactly the same schedule that you would have encountered if you were involved in the Interschools in 2019. Our primary school ski events on the Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday being the snowboard events, multi-class, and the start of our senior school in year 7 and 8 events, through to the Friday night nocturnal mogul events for Division 1, into the fireworks ceremony on that welcome ceremony, the closing on that Friday evening, and into our weekend Division 1 and 2 predominant events. Moving right along, my button isn't working, there we go. Code of conduct. So competitors and spectators over recent years, that we've had some really generally very positive actions by all of our families, competitors over the last few years. We have had some serious incidents take place around the village over recent years, which we really want to bring to all schools' attention. And it's recommended that the code of conduct be presented to parents and children at big presentation and information nights, just to really make sure that everyone, and particularly the children, are aware that they're representing themselves, their families and their schools at night around the village, as well as on the field of play. The link to the code of conduct, which you'll find on the important documents page, is also there at the bottom of the page. So some of the key 2021 rule changes. Race suits are not permitted in divisions 4, 5 and 6 events. So race suits up until 2019 were permitted for 2019 for Division 4. That is no longer the case, so that no primary school events will have race suits in them for either alpine or snowboard events or any event of that type. Waxing in all disciplines is prohibited to wax in start areas, and the use of fluoro wax and fluorocarbon liquid sprays are prohibited. And they're, you know, as written in the rules, there may be equipment that may be inspected under certain circumstances. The complete stop rule has been reworded, and a constant and consistent wording has been adopted across all jurisdictions and interschools to make sure that we're as consistent as possible. And really, to make this as clear as possible, if once you've come to a complete stop, means that you're no longer moving down the hill, you must exit the course. And that is for the fact that for safety and oncoming competitors that are coming into that zone. So children will not be permitted to hike back up the hill towards a gate and be accorded a record that did not finish or DNF for that run. Loss of both skis. Obviously, once you lose both skis, you must exit the course as soon as you can and not cross the finish line. There is an exception to that. After the last gate, between the last gate and the finish line, you may cross the finish line with no skis on, but only in that situation. The loss of one ski in alpine and GS ski cross. It's the intent of this rule will also be adopted in snowboard GS and snowboard cross events. And if a competitor loses one ski, they've got to leave the course as soon as possible, provided the competitor does not finish the finish line, and we'll record a DNF. The exception to that is in the event that the competitor loses one ski without having committed a gate fault or without coming to a complete stop, they may continue as long as there are no more than 2 gates to complete on one ski. Both ski boots must pass all gates correctly, as though they would have both skis on if that was the case. So that is to get consistent wording across all our jurisdictions and also look after the safety aspects of children not trying to ski an entire course on one run. But if they haven't come to a complete fault and a ski has come off within the last couple of gates, this rule is pretty consistent with children's event rules around the world. Alpine, GS and snowboard, national interschool rules. There'll be 2 runs for all combined teams. Northern and are still running with a numerical bib order. In Victoria, we'll be running with a reverse bib order in those events. New for ski cross and snowboard cross at national level interschools, there will be a best of 2 runs. And that is consistent with the sport further up the pathway and the way the sport is run around the world. Moguls, as it was in 2019 at the Nationals, 2 runs for competitors and best of 2 scores. Slopestyle events, the same, best of 2 runs with teams as well. What there is to note as well is that slopestyle team event results will, for the first time, be included in the school championship points tally. It's really exciting to see the evolution and growth of slopestyle over the last 4 to 5 years to where it is now. Cross-country combined team member times, cross-country classic events will now also be run at New South Wales State Interschools as well as the National Interschools level when the Nationals are hosted in New South Wales. The Australian Interschool Summary Event Schedule, September 8th to Sunday 12th of September, hosted at Mount Buller. The cross-country events on the Wednesday, followed into the array of events from Thursday through to Sunday, and that can be found on the Interschools website under the important documents under Australian Interschools. So some resort information. The 100 megalitre Boggy Creek Dam was completed in 2020. It was an $11.3 million project that's added 100 megalitres of water to the resort's arsenal of water for its snowmaking firepower. The existing dam that has been in existence for many decades, 70 megalitres, so it's more than doubled the water available to cover the racecourses and the high traffic areas of the resort. The snowmaking guns were installed in the summer of 2019 and 2020 on standard, and Bull Run will be a target early opener, just as Wombat has been and Little Ball Spur in the past. Timing infrastructure has also been installed on standard to provide an additional race event location if required. Guns have also been located and installed on men's downhill, and in the last year or so they've been incredibly efficient. So just a picture of some of the snowmaking infrastructure that's now on standard that was actually used last year when the resort was operational during winter, and had made an enormous amount of snow, and will make a huge difference to that side of the mountain, as well as having the Bull Run chairlift and the Wombat chairlift running as well will create some amazing benefits to all resort visitors. Another key change is a new lower Boggy Creek trail between Boggy Creek, or adjacent to the load station of Grimace, which is a trail which will lead straight to the load zone of Bonza, where we have one of our key event sites on Bonza. So that will give fast access from families and children that are on the summit area that need to get to the Bonza event site, and certainly creates a great loop in that area and some amazing views that generally aren't seen from other places in the resort. Policies of lift access. Carrying of wheel chains for the first time will be compulsory for all vehicles at all times throughout the winter season. The COVID-19 refund policy of 2020 is unchanged. So the confidence you can have in making bookings and in the unlikely event that there is COVID-related cancellations, that policy is unchanged. All of those terms and conditions, please refer to the COVID site on the Mount Buller webpage. I'll go to that shortly. It's expected that there will be no resort capacity restrictions on shared accommodation in season 2021. All resort visitors will be expected to comply with the 2021 COVID safe requirements as published on the webpage of the Mount Buller website. We'll also be duplicating that information when it gets published via our interschool channels as well, but please do use that page as a key reference. Lift access passes for competitors and team managers will be available again for purchase via the online entry system for the Victorian and Australian Interschools. Due to COVID safe operating requirements, all competitor and team manager and volunteer passes will be allocated to an individual profile. The details of how that will actually work will be distributed over the coming weeks. The lift ticket and event pricing summary is also published on the important documents page of the website for distribution to your school families and on information nights, etc. This is the COVID-19 page at Mount Buller there. You can see that the government published a document on alpine activity guidelines for coronavirus is a 2020 version. It's expected that the resort management boards and the Minister and Department of Water, Land and Planning will be releasing that in mid-May. So that page gives you a great reference point for all resort-related refund policies as well as current government guidelines around alpine activities. Mount Buller race training and trials. Many schools have booked multiple time trials, mogul gradings and cross-country events over July 17th, 18th, 24th and 25th of July. All the ski lifts are happily able to fulfil those bookings, and most of those schools will have been in direct contact with Buller Holiday staff that are working directly with every single school on what bookings have been in the system for some time and exactly what they're capable of delivering. Unfortunately, there won't be any race or mogul specific training sessions over the season due to the fact we still have a deficit of 60 to 80 overseas foreign highly skilled coaches that are unable to join us. Which is affecting the capacity to be able to run those high-end training opportunities. What has been brought forward and created this year to address, to allow schools and students to get experience training and running through a race course is a race training booking location that will be either on Skyline or Summit Ridge or Wendell's Weg, depending on the snow conditions, and that will allow schools to book a 2-hour time slot where there will be an individual at that course, setting the courses, maintaining the courses, and giving some training tips and help children navigate how to ski successfully around GS slalom courses and over a two-hour timing period. Those early morning 7 o'clock sessions have been made available on the weekend, those high traffic weekends of the 17th and 18th and 24th and 25th of July. So if you do have any inquiries or desire to have one of those bookings or want to find out what your school can do to prepare its students for the Interschools, please go to the Schools and Planning page of the Mount Buller website and contact Buller Holidays, so that we'll be able to let you know exactly what is available for your schools to be able to run some training and practice during the season. I'd like to just acknowledge our long-term event partners, a couple of them in Carbon and XTM. For any inquiries regarding 2022 school uniform inquiries, it does require long-term planning for those school uniforms. In fact, those really need to be finalised by the end of this 2021 season to have schools uniformed successfully for the 2022 season. And also our partner in XTN for all gloves and accessories, please go to those websites to inquire about what they can do for your school communities. We really appreciate their support and what they've done for the event over a number of years. This is our new poster, the 2021 event poster. Will be delivered to most large schools over the coming week. There are posters that are available for pickup at the Snow Australia office in the Docklands at O'Brien Icehouse, level 2, 105 Pearl River Road in the Docklands. And also, if you have any specific inquiries to me, please don't hesitate to contact me at info@vicinterschools.com.au. We intend to have the majority of those posters sent to the majority of our larger schools in metropolitan Melbourne over the course of the next 7 to 10 days. That is all I really have to say, and really looking forward to some days and some racing conditions like this one, and some celebratory nights like this one. And I look forward to seeing you all at Mount Buller. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Dave. Steve, across to you.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Dave. Great there, some very comprehensive information from Dave, and I suppose the key follow-on is certainly just visit the new Interschools website as much as you can to find out the information. Use that as your first point of reference, and then reach out from there with either Dave or Snow Australia. We can always solve the problems of the world, but we certainly hope that the new website is something that you'll find a lot easier to get the information as quick as you can. Part of the process this year that we'll be looking at is also the renewal of the Snow ID. We're working through a few things at the moment, which will see the membership rolled over for the next membership year. And as part of that, we're going to ask everyone to do as they did in 2019 and update their details and renew their Snow Racer Snow ID membership. It's free, it doesn't cost anything, but it's certainly a way that we can keep on top of the accurate details we have of the people involved. And what that also enables is when you're entering through the Interschools registration system, it will be a case of entering the Snow ID number, which then ensures that the name that appears on the start list will be the member's name as entered by the member. In the past, we've had differences in names being with apostrophes, commas, capitals, things like that. So we've set the system up. It works now that it transfers the data through an API across to the Interschools registration system based on the Snow ID. So we just ask that you reference that to all your families, that they need to renew their information before we get to the point of entering everyone onto the Interschools registration system. We will be sending out an email to everyone, and because everyone did renew in 2019 or had to refresh all their details, the data and information we've got should go through to the right person with the updated email address, and that will have a process that they can follow from that email to renew their membership. So it's just something to be mindful of at school level, that you need to encourage everyone to do that and make sure they have done that by a date that you plan to put the entries into the Interschools entry system. To give you a bit of an update around Australia, where we're at, from a New South Wales, ACT, Queensland and Australian Schools update, all of our regional events in New South Wales will be planned to go ahead. Got a full schedule there. Some of those events sort of sit in the New South Wales school holiday time slots, and with the interest of giving everyone accurate information, we are planning at this stage that there will be a focus on some nighttime activity, perisher events during the school holidays. So we know that sometimes people love to tell a story or find out a rumour as they sit on the ski lift around Australia during the school holidays, but it is something that's planned. It's something that we're working with the resort to deliver a great experience in that environment for the New South Wales competitors. And it's just something that is a new change, so it's not something that's unexpected. We have the moguls events in New South Wales aren't going to run at a regional level. That's due to the short availability of training, but it is something that is overcome because we have in Victoria a state championship that come one, come all, you can be involved in, and you've got plenty of time to get out on the mountain and ski. So that's just something that if it is known or passed around, that's things that are planned in the system at this stage for the season ahead. Obviously, Dave touched on the Australian Interschools. We're anticipating that everything going to plan, there won't be any issues with border closures or things like that. And we're going to have a great Australian Interschools event at Mount Buller, dates the 8th to the 12th of September. And from Snow Australia's perspective, and also from a national interschools approach, we're looking that the work that's happened in the community in Australia will see us hopefully have a great season ahead, and that hopefully we can put some of the things from last year behind us, and hopefully everyone stays healthy and we can see a wonderful year to welcome everyone back to the Interschools and go forward with some great competition. Now, one thing that we've been working on last year, and it's something that we had in the pipeline for quite some time, was the online Interschools officials course. Now, a key component for us is the volunteer time and effort that goes into officiating with gate judges, star referees, those sort of roles, to assist the running and conduct of the Interschools. And we have now worked tirelessly over the last 12 months to produce an online course that we would ask schools to encourage all their volunteer course officials to undertake. It's a lot of background information. There is also, it's broken down into several modules so that people can complete these. We'd ask that you encourage all of your volunteer officials to do this. What it will help is, as we go back here to our purpose, we're looking to instill the confidence in the decision-making capacity of all the volunteer officials. In the past, everyone would turn up, whether they were early or late, to the top of the race course. We know that we always get great weather for Interschools events, but on the off chance that there was a bad day, it might be hard to hear the person from the race department who's giving a briefing. So what we've done is take that to a place where you can enjoy that from your own home and work through these modules and get skilled, so that on the day of the race, you can be running a couple of minutes late, you can still get there well ahead of time, but it's not something else that you have to learn quickly what your role will be as a gate judge or similar on the day of the event. So hopefully that's something that will have your full support to encourage everyone to get through. We've put some videos in there as well as graphics, and it's done on the World Academy of Sport platform. That's some great support from the World Academy of Sport to host this, and we will over time also add other future courses onto this platform to assist in the conduct of the Interschools. Got a new program as well. We did do some snow active videos last year, and part of that was to produce a physical literacy program that will help the sport. So snow skills is something that we're working through at the moment. We'll be filming some dryland physical literacy components that we will have that work. We've got 3 levels, the bottom paragraph there, 3 levels that we have of this programming, and they're based around 3 terms of the year and with a term of on-snow development as well. And it is there that we anticipate we will produce this for schools, for clubs, for anyone who's got an athlete or an up-and-coming young child that wants to see themselves have a future in snow sports. It's entry level to build a better athlete and the knowledge and skills that will take them along their journey. So a lot of work has been put in by professional representatives to get this curriculum together, and as we roll that out, we'll aim to roll it out at a term at a time, and again that will be something we host on the World Academy of Sport. Had great support from Sport Australia to provide grant funding that's helped us to deliver this curriculum, and we look forward to having that to a place that we'll be able to roll that out. Hopefully it'll be apparent by term 3, or certainly at the latest term 4 this year is where we're anticipating to have that curriculum online. Another thing that's been quite topical lately is concussion management, and it's something that we wanted to raise with everyone, to put it back on the agenda, that we're very mindful that we sit in an opportunistic window in school sport, that we don't clash directly with many of the other codes in that window we have towards the back end of August each year. What we are aware of is that there are injuries that can occur at a day-to-day environment at school, can also occur in school sport, and can also occur in club sport that children participate in the community around that time. It doesn't have to always come from a snow sports experience. It may come from a snow sports experience. It may come from training in the days leading up to your interschools races for your athletes. But it's something that we want to put back on the agenda, that we encourage you to read. We'll have it on the Interschools website shortly. It'll be also included in the Interschools rules for this year. But there is a lot of big body of work that was done a few years ago to map out what the return to or graduated return to sport protocol is for winter sport. This also references ages 5 to 12, and it also references ages 13 to 17 as separate groups. And you see from the image that we have on the screen at the moment, there, as you get down to stage 6, it's something that athletes need to have a signed medical clearance for that return to full sport, and we would classify an interschools race as full sport. We want to ensure that we are providing a safe environment for athletes, and we would ask that, given that we don't always know what the history is of some of the students leading into that period, we would ask that as schools and parents, you're encouraging the families to get involved and go and see any medical practitioner as required to sign off on their return to sport. Now, as you can see there, the work that was done, aged 5 to 12, it recommends 4 weeks post-injury before a return to full sport. And there is also a 13 to 17 age group there recommending 2 weeks post-injury to a full return to sport. Now, these are with a signed medical clearance. So something to consider, and we think it's quite timely to recirculate this information before we get through to the Interschools this year. The other thing that we have here is the Sporting Schools program, which is our Little Shredders and Little Gliders program, which is Little Gliders being cross-country based and Little Shredders being snowboard based. We have those programs available by Sporting Schools. It's also something that you can rent the equipment directly from Snow Australia. We have available one coach in Victoria that we know is available to work with schools. That coach is Millie Bongiorno, who is shooting for the next Winter Olympics, I believe, as a snowboard GS athlete. And Millie has done a lot of work over the last couple of years with schools to go out and do some coaching programs with Little Shredders. So if you need further information, please reach out to us. Johnny Lipska in Snow Australia is managing that program, and it's a great opportunity if you want to sort of develop that initial point of contact with the sport in your school environment. We've also got spooner boards that we have as part of that program, and they're a great warm-up tool for any of your dryland programming. And that's something else that we have a supply of those, and they're quite affordable for class sizing purchases. So please reach out to Johnny for that. I have hopefully come to the end of the important information.
Thanks, Steve.
We'll
go to questions and answers.
Sort of, if you bear with us, we're reading on the main screen where we sort of sit with our questions, and I'm just going to.
So the first question relates to something that we did talk about last year, about the possibility of having some type of almost like an alumni race in 2021 for those kids who missed out on competing last year. Dave, do you want to give us an update?
Well, I can probably touch on that. That's something that we're working on at the moment, and I know that there's been a very initial high-level discussion with Bullis skiers about that. I think there's some positive discussion to come, and that's something that will provide some details in due course about how we will be able to implement that. It also sort of creates some areas where we would have to look at how schools could be referenced, and also how we engage with that community, knowing that they've already finished with their school. So there's still a little bit of work to do, but that's something that we need to have some further discussions with the resort.
I would feel confident that we'll be able to deliver something.
I believe it's happening in New South Wales, and it's something that we
well, it's going to happen in New South Wales. It has to happen here.
We want to bring it to here, and we're also looking at whether we can do that in Australian schools Interschools level as well. So there's a few things that we're working through.
Sure. The next question, could we make sure that all school coordinators know that there is a multi-class division rate and they should visit the multi-class
Yeah,
pace?
yeah, go ahead to the website and part of that menu that you click on Victoria that lists the important documents and the events, there's a multi-class page there as well. Please, if you've got any questions or queries, don't hesitate to contact myself at info@vicinterschools.com.au, or the contact details there that are listed on the multi-class page, and a great community that we have there. We've had over 8 years of multi-class involvement, as well as Special Olympics for our adult competitors that are qualifying for special games that have been involved around our Interschools community, and it's been a really valuable contribution that group's made to our events over many years. So if you do have any families and children that are in that area that may find the multi-class event of interest, please don't hesitate to head there.
Right. Are there any other questions?
As I mentioned before, if there are any other specific event-related questions, don't hesitate to contact myself directly on that on the info@vicinterschools.com.au. This webinar and the document that we've been scrolling through will be published on the website in the coming days. So you can refer to that and point any members of the community, of your communities, to that document as well once it's published on the website.
So there's no more questions. In closing, I'd like to thank everyone for participating in tonight's call. We'll continue to keep you all and all of our stakeholders informed of key developments impacting Interschools 2021 and relevant Victorian government announcements. But we do encourage you all, as we've said tonight several times, to visit the website and sign up to our e-news. And also please encourage the volunteers to do the course as Steve outlined. The sport is extremely proud of the history and legacy of Interschools over the last 60 years. And we look forward and we are excited about delivering a successful Interschools in 2021, which will be our 63rd edition. We are hopeful, extremely confident of a very strong snow season, and we look forward to seeing you all and those student athletes on the hill in just a few months' time. Please stay well, and thank you again for your interest and support of Interschools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll leave it there. So I hope you have a great night.